All right, all right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Coffee and Cigars, our Thursday night hang. How's it going? Devin's with us. What's going on, my man? How are you doing? Steven's here. Steve already here, man. What is going on with you, man? That's unusual. How's it going? And Rusty's here as well. How's it going, Rusty? Everything's good. So we're back here in the garage because it is blazingly cold. Like it wasn't too bad today. Like I was outside most of the day, but then it got really cold. Now it's like 25 degrees. So it's like really, really cold now. So back in the garage where we have some mode of heat. And yeah. So what's going on? How's everything going? How was your guys' week? Was it good? Anything happen interesting? My week has been all right, all right. We had a couple days here where a lot of rain, like we had two inches of rain one day, but it was also relatively mild, like in the 50s. So that was a nice break from things. George, how are you, man? How are things out there? How are things on your balcony? And are you out there in shorts as well? And so we were, so that was good. So I've been working on more shop projects here in the garage, right? So my ideas, I've got this bandsaw, and the idea is that I want to make a cart for the bandsaw, a cart where I can have the bandsaw at a height that I enjoy, but also a way to store stuff underneath. More of these sustainers will go under equipment so that this wall will disappear. And the idea is that I decided that, if I have this small bench top bandsaw, maybe I'll get other equipment. So instead of hard mounting it to this cart, maybe I'll make these plates that I can use and connect to the top through dog holes, and then I could swap out equipment without having to make more carts and take up more space. So that's kind of been the plan. So I made these plates that will, these 400 millimeter square plates, put the holes in around them. The problem is they don't, a lot of places will use these special guides that are very exact in setting up these holes. And they're supposed to be 20 millimeter holes, 96 millimeters apart on center. So I map them out with a ruler and a straight edge, and then I drill the holes. 70% are correct. The other 30% are kind of it's not very good. It's very poor, very poor. What's going on there, Tony? Good to see you, man. How's everything going? Devin says it's upper 40s here in Florida, but cold, humid is bone chilling. Oh, man. I hear you on that. George is nice and toasty on the balcony, about 35 degrees, shy of short weather. Shy of shorts weather. So you must have some kind of heater out there on the balcony, right? Or you just bundled up and enjoying it. George is with us. Festool fever already? Of course, my friend, of course. Buddy wants to know why is your coolest friend not on the show tonight? Actually, he's not a cigar guy at all. And actually, what he's doing now, he's at home. He's been texting me for the last 10 minutes. He's like, I have been looking on the Shaper Hub, and there's all this stuff here. Oh wow, that's very nice. And so, oh, no heater, just layers. Oh, nice. That's hardcore, man. That's hardcore, my brother. Good to hear. So the Shaper is this thing we went to. A bud came with us to the Woodcraft here in Timonium to check out this. Basically, it's a handheld CNC router that you can put in all of these designs and you can cut it out. And the interesting thing is that as you're following along so there's a screen on this router and it shows you the path to cut out what you wanted to cut out. And as long as you follow the path, the dotted line, it will adjust for your imperfections. So let's say you have a half an inch in all the directions to be off. And if you're not perfectly online, it will adjust within the tool to hold the correct, whatever the correct path is. And if you deviate more than half an inch, it'll pull the tool so you don't damage your piece. And I was like, well, that's really awesome. And it's fairly an expensive tool. It's like $3,500 for the set that they have. And the set for $3,500 is actually $800 off of the MSRP. So we went to this thing on Sunday to check it out. It was a fairly decent demonstration. Like the guys at Woodcraft had just gotten trained on it like 2 weeks before, so they didn't know everything about it, but they knew, they knew enough to show us and to give us an idea. And it's a fairly interesting tool. You basically can take a vector-based file that you can, and the vector-based, if you're familiar, these are design files that you can scale, because they're vector based. They're not whatever. They're not JPEGs. They're not GIFs. They're not those things. These are vector based, so you can scale them as you need to. So you can design something on the computer as a vector based file that maybe it's only this small, and then you can blow it up to whatever size you want. This thing will then read it and then router. You can then router out whatever the design you want. George says, hosting Thursday Night Football at Capitol, smoking the Tot ME original. Oh, nice. That's a nice one. Yeah, what are you guys all smoking tonight? What is on the menu this evening for you guys? Tonight we'll be smoking a cigar that George gave to me over the weekend, the 30th anniversary La Flor Dominicana, which I've been looking forward to. I think he said to eat a bit because it's a bit heavy cigar, so I don't think I ate enough. I should have probably gone for a big steak and potatoes dinner, but I had a little bit of fried chicken and a lot of vegetables and salad. So that could be to my peril later tonight. But yeah, so Bud Matt's at home. He's texting me. He's like, "Yeah, man, look at this. They got all these designs." So there's a place called Shaper Hub where it's kind of like Thingiverse, but for this Shaper thing. And evidently people are uploading all kinds of files for all kinds of things to route out. And I was like, epic. And one of the things he was telling me that they have patterns for these dog holes, right? These 20 millimeter dog holes. And, like here, you can see it here. I think you can see it here. Like look down this row, right? Look at that. Nice. Whoops. Nice. So there's always something like wonky with my designs. And another thing that's wonky, I'm building this cabinet for that bandsaw, right? And you can see it over here. Look at that. Down there, right? Look at that. Nice. Right. So the interesting thing is I've been watching these like cabinet makers, right? They talk about building these cabinets so that the verticals are vertical, run full height, and then your horizontals attached to the verticals, right? Between the two. But the way that I was thinking is that you just take the verticals, you put them on top of the horizontal, and that gives you more support. But evidently that's not the way to do it. So I was trying to do that with this. And my side panels are 620 by 644 millimeters. 620 in the depth, 620. Is that right? Something like that. 600 something, 640. Yeah, 620 depth, 644 in height, with a 418 millimeter spread. We've got most of it correctly. And then I was assembling it the other day, yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 nights ago. I'm putting it together, but I'm putting it together on its side because, the way the clamps would work and all this. And I dominoed everything. So I put it all together, glued it up, left it, came back yesterday morning. I come back yesterday morning and I took the clamps off, I turned it over and I'm looking at it. You can see it on my Instagram feed and I look at them like, I'm looking at the edges, right? The edges are kind of, they're not, for some reason when I did the dominoes on them, I did them a little bit off. So the verticals are a little bit proud of the surface. So I'm like, man, this is bad. I'm going to have to get the planer and plane it out. But then I'm looking at it and it's all like canted. You're like, what the? And I took a step back and I was like, oh my gosh. So evidently I had cut one of the vertical panels, or maybe I just kind of didn't pay attention to orientation. The one panel was 644. The parallel panel to that was 620. So this thing is like, work. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so irritated. So it's like totally uneven. I was thinking, maybe that'll work. That's not going to work. 24 millimeters, 1 inch offset is like way too much, right? Tony says, I'm getting over my travel sinitis. Oh, so not smoking tonight. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that. George is having the Plasencia Cosecha 151. Nice. Very, very nice. Mom is with us. What's going on, Bryant? How are you, man? Good to see you. And Brian's asking, hey, did you make any more 3D prints? So Brian was kind enough to give me a Creality 3D printer. And like I said to you, Matt's been on the Shaper Hub looking at different files. I have spent the last 3 days on Thingiverse looking at different files. And I've been trying to be productive with what I've been making. So I've been making these. These are different types of 3D prints. And as you can tell by the green, all somehow related to Festool, right? So these are these are adapters to go from my old school Ryobi 10-inch miter saw to whatever dust collector. Is that right? Or maybe this is for the Ryobi 5-inch sander, one of those two. And then this could be the one for the miter saw, to a 2.5-inch vac thing. And then these are the locking dogs, right? These are locking dogs. And what these are is basically you take these two hands and you put the nut and bolt in here and they sit like this, right? And so when you tighten them, they kind of tighten up and expand, which means they lock tight in the hole. So the idea is to take these, put them in the plate that I'm making for the tools, use this to lock them in place. Now, these are all printed what's called PLA plus filament. My brother, who's got a lot more experience doing 3D printing, tells me that if I want more structural kind of work, then it really should be um, PPEG or something like that, some other one. And so I did. And speaking of the dog holes, I did find this dog hole template that I'm going to try to use soon. And this is what I was using to kind of, like, for example, I was trying to see how good was my work, right? So look at that. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. How about this? Maybe slight. Oh, that's fairly decent. Fairly decent. How about here? How about how about this way? Should I say this way? This way. Oh, see, that's off right there. Boom, that's totally wrong. So, yeah, I need something like this because I'm not a skilled craftsman. And what else are we printing? Printing cable stays. I need a hose clamp so that the nozzle for the hose I can. Otherwise, it just falls to the ground. So if I mount this somewhere, I can just kind of set it in place. This is a thing like to hold the hose, and then you put this with a bolt, and it becomes a dog hole thing. So you put that in the dog hole, and that holds your cum. So I have been printing. So that's been kind of fun. I got these little. I've been testing around with these little hole fillers, right? So if you want to, the problem with these dog holes is that as you have parts or stuff, it falls through, and you've now got to dig it from underneath. So this should sit there and cover it. But that's the problem with the thing that I don't like about these, that these are a little bit proud, right? So if you look here, they're a bit proud of the surface, which I don't think I like. I don't think I like that. If they were like flush with the surface, that would be all right. So that's what I've been doing with the printer. I have nearly burned through a complete 2 kilo. Yeah, I have nearly burned through a whole spool of kilogram neon green. So George says that thanks GB and Devin. No way that I like a. Are you still in the first wheel of film? I still have some more of the filament, of this green filament. Last week I did go and buy a roll of black filament. So I'm actually printing on the black right now. I've got this. Actually, I put the wrong file in. I'm reprinting a bunch of stuff. So I was like, oh, that was a mistake. But anyway, I have some parts to print. So if you want some parts, I can give you some parts. But I'm thinking maybe I should go I definitely want to get another roll of green. Maybe get a roll of white. Oh, because that's one thing. Like these are the rails, right? So that's one of the things I've been working on. So these are rails, right? So this is something that I've been using, right? So see these sustainers, right? they're on those white rails, these white rails, right? That's why these cabinets are 418 millimeters, so that it will fit these rails and these sustainers. Now, Festool sells them in these boxes. There are 4 sets of rails, so 8 rails for $43, which compared to their drawers, you can get one drawer for one sustainer for $52. So $43 for 4 sets is not terrible. However, the problem with these is that you can't open these and take and open the sustainer. Well, this one that doesn't count. But let's say if I take it over here, right? If I get to the saw and I pull it out, that's the maximum it's going to come out. However, I cannot open the the sustainer to access the tool. With the drawers, you can. The drawers will come all the way out. So it's a little bit of a pain, but I was thinking, like, $43, if I can get these to print for, $2, that's a good savings. And so, let's show you this is the real deal, right? This is the stock. Yeah, this is the stock rail, right? Huh? Not bad. This is the one from the 3D print. It's pretty much money, right? Look at that. It's pretty much money right there, right? Now you take the 2 of these. Now my printer's too small to print the whole thing, but you take the 2 of these together and glue them or whatever back together, and you've got a really nice full rail. Now the problem with these rails is that these are designed for a company called Botte in Europe, and this company designs racking systems for work vans, and the standard rack for the Bottes are this long, right? These are 450 millimeters, but the sustainer is only 300 millimeters, so it only goes to there. You have these rail, like on the ones that I trying to understand that when I was doing this cart, like you can see it here on the heater cart, the rails stick out by like 150 millimeters, which is kind of dumb. So on this one, on the one that's for the saw, I actually cut them off at 300 millimeters to make it work. So it can be done, but yeah, that's what it is. Oh, we did that already. Oh yeah, coffee first. Gosh, that's right. We need to do coffee. All right, let's go to the coffee thing. We put all this away. Okay, let's get our coffee out. So today's coffee is a coffee that I roasted today, earlier this morning. So if you happen to catch the morning live stream on the Coffee Q&A on the main channel, this is the coffee that I roasted. I was roasting this coffee, and today I'm on. Also, this evening, I'm on. I'm just going through Instagram. Oh, we got a lot of comments. I've been so slow. They're proud because your dog holes don't have the chamfered inside edge. Actually, that is not true. These are chamfered, right? If you look very closely, these are chamfered. Because you know why they're chamfered? Because I use the proper tool, the UJK router. What do you call this? The UJK reamer and chamfer tool. What I did find out though recently is that the UJK does not recommend you use their chamfer reamer on plywood tops. They only recommend it for MDF. However, these are the TSO aluminum chamfer dogs, right, with the little chamfer ring, and these fit perfectly flush. Like this is the ring that holds it in place, right? That sits. Oh, maybe it's a little bit proud. Or this side is. See, this is my problem of like shoddy. Like this here. This is the shoddy workmanship that I'm doing. This is slightly angled, so this chamfer is lower. That's why there's this ring here. Now So when I drilled this hole, it's slightly canted. Oh, son of a gun. So, yeah, well, what are you going to do? You could get the soft closing rails for the drawer bins. So I was talking with some guys on the festival owners group, and they were talking about that using, and I've seen some of these installations where they use these rails drawer slides, and they put a panel, just a bottom, and then they mount the sustainers on them, and they can. That could be an option. Like, I'm going to have to look at the cost and see, But really, these projects are all kind of designed for me to expand my repertoire on what I'm learning how to do, because I don't really know any of this stuff. I know basically how to install electric, maybe do some rough plumbing, do some rough like work, nothing really very good. So it's just a matter of like, using these projects to try different approaches, different finishes, different things, and yeah, and totally mucking it up in the process. Like, I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm very glad that I decided to go with this dark blue color for the design language, because man, some of this stuff is really fucked up. Like, it's just like, oh my god, man, he's terrible. He's terrible. Whoa, 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 whoa! We're gonna explode here in a moment. Bud says, while you have some green left, you should print new handles for your sustainers so all of them are green and you don't have a couple that are blue. Oh yeah, but you see, that's the thing. This is all, they kind of like tell you what you have. Right? Like the different brands will have different, like I'm thinking, they even sell these sustainers in different colors. So I was thinking about putting my DeWalt stuff in a yellow one. But I wasn't sure, like, should I keep it all white? Like, because you can get these in different colors. Should they be white uh, with different these cams, different colors in the cams, or because you can actually buy them in different colors with different colored cams and different colored top handles. Much like how this one has, different colors. They don't sell it. They don't sell this separately, but there's definitely a language that can be developed with that. Okay, so let me start getting our water together. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna start on fire. Oh, that thing is like, that is angry fire. I'm not gonna put this on there until I put the. I'm actually afraid to put my hand over it. Okay, so we've got our water now heating. Today's coffee is a coffee that I roasted this morning from El Salvador. It's a Santa Ana, strictly hard bean, a European. We've talked about that before. And it's a fairly nice coffee, but I wanted to see how is it going to taste the same day that we're using it, or the same day that we roasted it, because by tomorrow, the flavors, the CO2 byproduct of the roasting process will be enough to occlude the flavors of the coffee, and you really have to kind of wait for another week before you really can taste the coffee in its best form. And I decided to use the AeroPress like we did last week, because just earlier today, I was reading Instagram, and there's this website called Perfect Daily Grind. And Perfect Daily Grind did an article about AeroPress's new. So AeroPress has been around since 2005. They do these plastic brewers that are like this. You're familiar with that? They released a new brewer this year that is glass and stainless, which is cool. Like, it's kind of this fancy, way of brewing your AeroPress coffee, and that's nice. That's nice, right? It's nice. But they made this grand claim in the Instagram post that it's going to, like, essentially revolutionized the way you brew coffee or the way you experience coffee. And I was like, can someone expound on that? Because that just sounds like craziness to me, right? And one of the other guys that's reading, he comes out and says, it's probably because, you know, it gets scratched up, and if you don't clean it properly, the oils will get in there, and then in the plastic, pores can develop in the plastic. And I was like, pores developing in the plastic, and scratches hoarding rancid coffee. And I'm thinking, in my 18 years of brewing with the AeroPress, I think that's in a professional setting. I'm like, that just doesn't compute in my world. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I have these AeroPresses that are pretty darn old. They're probably from like 2009 or 2010. And I happened to dig them up again. I knew I had them. I just dug them up. I was like, we're gonna have to do a live stream about exploring the flavor differences between these different AeroPresses, and if there is any potential truth to those things. So, what time is it now? Oh, 2028. Did you say coffee by by 8:29, or did you say? Oh, light cigar. Yeah, we're not gonna make that cigar thing. Devin says the BPA AeroPress. Yes, I got the BPA laden AeroPresses for the full flavor deal. All right, so we've got our AeroPress, we've got our coffee. This time I decided not to go with the normal recipe that I use, which is 36 grams. We're going to use 24 grams. We're going to do the inverted, turn it over, let the coffee get in there. I don't know why I just shook it to level it out, because you don't need to do that with this. We've got our filter holder, and we're going to get our filter. Actually, considering the size of that cigar, I probably should have gone faster with the opening. This goes in here. Maybe we'll do a little bit of water. Just to, ooh, well, that's not good. It's too much water. Just a little bit of water to wet the filter, just so that it doesn't fall out, right? Just so it sticks. Darn it. I need to turn it up. Get some real serious flame going on. It's just taking too long to heat up. That is a fierce amount of flame. Look at this thing. That is just okay. So I'm seeing it must be boiling. Okay, it's definitely boiling. Turn that off. A good boil. And then a good boil. Now I'm gonna let it sit for a few seconds for it to cool down just a little bit, because it's a little bit too hot. Then we're gonna pour. Got my St. Michael's Running Festival thermos here, because I'm a big runner. I've been taking this around with me lately, this thermos. Not bad, not bad. Kind of nice to have hydration. All right, that should be good. Now we're going to take this and we're going to do some brewing with it. Where's my stirrer? Got the stirrer here. We're going to pour in. Okay, ready? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Pour in. Fill up. Oh, okay, good. We got a lot of blooming here, because this coffee is ultra fresh. So we're going to stir for 45 seconds. Now, as you can see, the amount of liquid is very small, relatively speaking, because of all the bloom that's happened, which is fine. We kind of make up for that with the way that we pull with the way that we add water to it. So that's not really a big issue. Okay, 45 seconds. Cap that. Turn this over. Oh, a little bit of mess. Now we're going to press. And press down till it, runs out. There we go. Tilt it a little bit so that, see, there's a lot of. So we got this much in here. So a little bit less volume than we normally would have because of I didn't pour so much because of the, what do you call it? The blooming. So now we're just going to add hot water to volume, about 12 ounces. And that should give us a nicely brewed cup of El Salvador. Put that down so it's not going to burn anything. And we got this. Devin says, "Hey, a late cigar light fine is fine by me. That means I'm going to smoke another." A warped Colmena 10-year anniversary. Excellent, excellent, excellent. In what way do you think the CO2 occludes the taste? So the CO2 just kind of interferes with your ability to perceive the flavor of the coffee, right? Because there's so much of it being produced when you roast the coffee that it takes about 5 to 7 days for it to really bleed off, and then you get back to the flavor. And it's good to question that, and it's something that maybe it's something worth, if you're curious, it's something worth exploring. Like if you have a good local roaster, go to them and be like, "Hey, when are you guys roasting next?" I would like to, and tell them, if you need to tell them, just tell them you want to buy the coffee as fresh as it can. Like if you can get the same day it came out of the roaster, all the better. And you buy like a bag, and then brew it every day. Brew it every day and taste it and see how does that coffee change throughout the days that you're using it. And calculate. And then if you want to be this critical, or this evaluatory, you just kind of pay attention to as it tastes as you go many days away from the roasting as you can. And I think you'll find that the flavor will not be as good the first week as it will be after the first week, and then subsequent days after that, right? So now, what does CO2 chemically do? I'm not sure. Like I don't know it. I don't know science and chemistry that well of coffee to give you a great answer on that. All I know is that the effect that it has on your ability to perceive the flavor of the coffee. All right, so we're very hot. Like, look at this thing. It is totally like, it's actually, I can feel on my lips that it's foolish to try to taste it. Like, you will not be rewarded. You'll be punished for doing those kind of things. Yeah, like we roasted this coffee prior to noon today. And actually the first batch that I roasted, we actually brewed up right away and had a taste of it. It was a little bit sharp compared to how it normally is after resting. This definitely is not, well, it's still very hot, so I can't really say that with any definitiveness, but initially it feels a little bit less than it was earlier today. Mamma mia, that's kind of hot. All right, let's go to our cigar of the day. We've got our official humidor from the Coffee and Cigars live stream. Thank you very much, Rusty. And you know what, man? I know I do have other. I do have this. Is this the one? Yeah, like this. Here, look at this one. This is in here. This is the power of this Tupperware, right? This is the Boveda that we started with very first, right? It's still, it's not fluffy like it used to be, but it's still pliable, right? It still has life left in it. And when did you get this, Rusty? This is like 2 years ago now. Now I do keep it with another couple that are in here, other couple of Vedas. So it's not like it's totally by itself. This one is from a year ago. This is from Brian. He gave this to me last Christmas time, and it's still very fluffy. But we've got our LFD 30th anniversary right here. It's a chisel type of cigar, a box pressed chisel. And again, like I said, this is gifted to me by George Brightman. Thank you very much, George. This is very exciting. So this celebrates Lito Gomez's 30 years in the coffee business. He started in 1994, and it has a, I wrote the description, and I can't remember what it is now, but it's a very interesting wrapper, binder, and filler. Dominican, and then the fillers are made from they own their own farm. La Candela, I think that's what it's called. If you look at the description down below, and the show description, I wrote the whole thing down there. And yeah, so this is the cigar. So we're gonna try this. Let's take it out. Now, when we were I got this from George because we went out to dinner. We had dinner at our friend Andrew's house. So Andrew, myself, George, and our other friend Tom got together for a really nice, men's dinner. Men smoking cigars, drinking libations, and eating very nice food. We had what do we have? We had some asparagus soup, vegan asparagus soup that Andrew made, and he used cashews as a thickener, and it was just delicious. So asparagus in a vegan vegetable-based broth, cashews, and then that was all blended together, and then he added like the the tops of asparagus into it. So there was a beautiful, like, so sensuous and very soft and silky soup, but also a nice juxtaposition with the toothy asparagus spears. So beautiful, beautiful. Tom had gone Alaska finished had gone line fishing for sockeye salmon in Alaska. So we brought some of the fillets back. He roasted them up, beautiful, and then Andrew had made some really nice like roasted baby carrots with roasted Brussels sprouts to go along with it. Now the nice thing about Andrew is that Andrew has a background working for Jean-Louis Paladin at his restaurant back in DC many years ago. So he had training at some of the finest restaurants in the United States, especially back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. So beautiful, beautiful food. George came out for dessert with this almond tart that just had beautiful texture, just the right amount of sweetness. The crumb was beautifully moist, and then sliced almonds on top that just had this great textural crunch. Wow, just delicious meal, delicious meal. We had these really nice petit chablis for the wine. I had a really pretty Japanese whiskey early on, and then we kind of wrapped things up on the drink side with a port from the Quinta do Rosa. Quinta do Rosa. It's a bottle of port that I picked up quite a long time ago, maybe like 10 to 15 years ago, that was sitting around, and I was like, let's bring this down there. Hopefully a nice tawny kind of flavor, but really, really pretty. And I think that it's really nice to get together with friends and like have a meal. And we get together with a lot of friends and we'll have meals, but like to have one you sit down, you're deliberate, and everything that you do is really just a really pleasant experience. So I encourage you to give that a try one day. So comes with a foot band. We're going to take that off. And there it is. There it is. It's the Chisel box pressed. Look at that. Nice. I need to get a score sheet ready. I've just remembered that I forgot. I used the last score sheet last week, and now I'm out. So I'm gonna have to reuse some of these, which is all right. We're just gonna use that as a guideline. So there's a lighter kind of manure. It's not a heavy manure, but a lighter type of manure. Now, during our dinner, George gave me another chisel-shaped cigar from La Flor Dominicana, what's called the Cameroon Classic. One that I had a brand. That was a line of LFD that I'd never heard about before. I don't know if you guys have heard about it or tried it. The Cameroon Classic and the chisel shape. I thought it was a fabulous cigar, fantastic. If you can get it, because I don't think I've ever seen that, and so if you can get the Cameroon Classic LFD, try it. I think it's a fantastic smoke. So with the chisel, you're supposed to just pinch the top, right? Pinch the, is that right? Something like this to get the edge off. I'm doing it poorly tonight. I did it fine on Saturday. Now I'm doing it poorly. So you just remove. There we go. Remove it. Cameroon Cabinet. Oh, maybe you're right. Cameroon Cabinet. But it was, yeah. I think you're right. You're totally right. Because I remember we're talking about. He says it comes in. The cabinet would come in a box of 50 traditionally, and in a totally right. Totally right on that. Cameroon Cabinet, not Cameroon Classic, but it is a classic cigar. I don't know if you tried that, Tony, but if you haven't tried it, man, I really, really liked it. The nice thing about these chisels, and you wouldn't necessarily think about it because of this narrow, this tapered, you know, cap, but the draw, perfectly easy, perfectly smooth. There's a light sweetness on the tongue that's really nice, really nice. Devin says the pigtails are the pull, but any cap cigar can be wet and then peeled up. Oh, gotcha. Tony says the number one in the Lancero are some of my favorites. Oh, okay, gotcha. I think that I don't know I don't know which one I had, but it was. Oh, it was the chisel. I don't know but I don't know if the chisels if these come in different sizes or not. That I'm not aware of. Devin says dinner sounds amazing. I love doing carrots in the French laundry. You know what? Tell me a little bit more about what that French laundry style is. I'm not. I have the book, but I don't recall how they do it there. George says that LFD is known for their power, but their Cameroon. I totally agree, man. Like, it's not a powerhouse cigar. Like, it was a great beginning of pre-meal cigar. Just a wonderful time. And the interesting thing about this, Andrew has this house, 1920s build, in Washington, D.C., with a fireplace. When you run the fireplace in the winter, this is the second time I've been there for this. And that's why when they called me, they're like, hey, you want to come to dinner? I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to come to dinner. The draft in the house is such that you can smoke in the living room. We're smoking in the living room. Like on the couch, I'm smoking on the cigar, and the fireplace is sucking the smoke out of the house. Like I couldn't. It's so amazing. Like I guess we kind of wondered. Or I would kind of wonder in whatever. Like you hear about these people in the old days, they would have dinner and then go and get their jackets and then go have a cigar in the living room or the drawing room or whatever. And oh man, doesn't that smoke it up? But if you have it set up like this, man, that smoke is just you're like, as long as you have good ventilation, so there's a little, so it's pulling some of the air fresh from somewhere else. Man, unbelievable how well that works. Unbelievable. All right, so we're gonna light this with our Jetline phaser. I don't know if they call it a phaser. I like to call it a phaser because I like Star Trek. All right, and you can lock it on, so you don't have to stun. You can kill. but you got to be a little bit careful with it because it is a little bit fierce on the double flame. I saw this at the RTDA show in Vegas quite a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And I was like, I got to have one of those. So I asked Alfredo Cruz to talk to his friends at Jetline to give me, not to give me one, but to get me one at a really steep discount. And I got this. I think I got it for like 30 or 35 bucks. Or what. I was like, all right, that's awesome. But I had to like wrap it specially for the flight home. I put it in its box and then I put like packaging around it and left it open. But I was like, I made sure that to say on the packaging that it was totally empty so the TSA wouldn't confiscate it from my bag. And now I'm losing flame. This is terrible. That first puff, very nice flavor on it. Devin says that the carrots are sliced as this, laid flat on a pan, a little water, and cooked with the lid on, adding a little bit of water as needed so it reduces in its juices. Oh, and I like to finish with butter. Oh, I like that. I'm going to try that. How far do you cook it for the texture? Like, to what texture are you cooking your carrots until? So I would say the fragrance, very good plus. So I'm going to say I'm going to say 8.5. But really nice, rich flavor, but not very, at least right now, not too heavy. Brian says, how long does that take on medium heat to cook those discs of carrots? Oh, good question, good question. And how, when you say disc, how thick are we talking? I guess discs are like that right now. All right, now we got the coffee. The coffee's been left open all this time. And it's just the right kind of heat. So I'm going to put the cap on to try to preserve as much of the heat as possible. You can kind of see here, like, I got a bit of a thermal layer going on. You can see how it's just kind of like, oh gosh. The whole like vagaries of fluid dynamics in a cigar room has been such a challenging, you know, issue for us, right? Like this is happening because we've got heat. The heat from this and from the other heaters are creating a thermal layer above that is holding the smoke from rising, and it holds it right at kind of like your head level. It always seems to do that. And I think because it's colder below, it doesn't allow it to sink. Or it's here, it's, you know, the smoke is trying to rise to the top. That's why they say, you know, drop, rock and roll. Devin says, for me in the 15 to 20-minute range, I like the middle, like mashed potatoes. Oh, nice. Okay, about one to 1.5 centimeters thick. Okay, nice. I'm gonna have to give that a try tomorrow. Actually, share that with my aunt. My aunt is a big vegan person for some reason. I don't know if she's vegan, but she likes to only eat vegetables. I may have to open the garage door soon because, but this flavor, no, really, really pretty. I'm trying to think about what is it, like a light spiciness, but not a heavy body. Like you think that LFD with the chisels got this reputation for like super heavy cigar. This isn't, at least not yet. It's got a nice flavor, nice complexity. Spicy, rounded, a really nice melange of flavors. Not again, and this is another cigar that's not very like pronounced in the different flavors. It just kind of comes together as a nice cohesive whole. So how are you guys cigars coming along? Good. Let me know. I'm interested to know how your smokes are, how you're enjoying your smokes. It's a pretty big cigar. I probably should have started this sooner. So like I said, I had this cabinet I'm building, right? And it's all kind of, I'll show you, it's kind of mucked up. So I got this cabinet, and here it is. And there it is. Looks like this is the plate that I'm talking about, right? This plate's gonna mount that bandsaw to it. And then I'm gonna use those dog hole things to mount it. But the problem is they're not totally perfect, I guess, because they don't totally, these two line up. That's all I need is two to line up correctly. And then that will be good enough, right? So I have like, I'm going to make two of these for two different decreases. But now here's the issue. So I told you the 24 millimeters difference. So what I did is I decided that I'm going to take the shorter side. I'm going to use the track saw and cut it right below the top, right? And then I'm going to cut another 24 millimeter piece of plywood and then glue that in. And that's kind of what I did, right? So you can see here where this is the cut, and then I put this in here and just glued and clamped it. Now, I was also thinking that maybe I need some kind of support. So I thought maybe I can use dominoes to do that. So I put the dominoes in here and here, and look at those. It's really mucked up. Look at that. Like this is actually the tightest mortise for the 5 millimeter domino. This is a 5 millimeter by 30 millimeter domino in here. I don't know what was wrong with the way that I cut it, but it's all, look at that. Look how big it is. Normally normally when you have it on the tightest setting, maybe I cut it on the wider setting. But I guess I cut on the wider setting because I wanted to, my idea was to plunge through, right? I plunge it all the way through to the bottom here, right? But this is 18 millimeters. This is 24. So I thought that, okay, let me get the domino. And I took the domino, and it turns out the domino you can plunge to 28 millimeters. For the deepest depth of plunge is 28. So I set it for 28, plunged it. But I felt like I couldn't get all the way to the bottom of the mortise or the depth that I wanted because I got a lot of resistance. And I was thinking maybe because it's such a long plunge, maybe there's some sawdust that's kind of blocking it, even though there's dust extraction attached to it that really is very good at pulling that out. Because for the 5 millimeter domino, it's a 30 millimeters tall. So 5 millimeter wide, 5 millimeter, 5 millimeters wide, 10 millimeters high, or yeah, something like that, whatever the case may be. But but since it's a 30 millimeter domino, you're only normally plunging 15 millimeters depth on each side. So after a while, I was thinking maybe because it's so narrow that if you do a 28 millimeter plunge, it just doesn't have enough suction because everything's so tight in that mortise to pull it out. So I don't know. So my idea was to like plunge it all the way through and then put two dominoes in. And then I plunged it and then I put the domino in and I couldn't get any deeper than where it is now. And I was like, what's up with that? And then of course, I'm not even thinking 28 millimeters. Yeah, 28 millimeters. I'm thinking it's going to go all the way through the 24 millimeter like addition. No, dude, you're only plunging 28. You got 18 millimeters to go through, plus the 24. I'm not even close to getting to the main part of the vertical. It's like, gosh, what kind of this is the kind of like shoddy workmanship that I'm doing here. Devin says those notes sound spot on when I tried it. Oh, good. Mine are good. I'm dual wielding the L'Atelier. Oh. That's epic, man. That's epic. Are you finding the La Colmena and the L'Atelier? Are you finding them to be complementary flavors? That maybe they come together as a greater whole than the individual cigar? Because that's kind of an interesting thing. If you can find two cigars that are super complementary, can you smoke them at the same time and have a greater experience? Now, like I said, I'm making all this stuff. I'm totally butchering it. But the nice thing is that I'm using this blue, this dark blue black, that hides it, right? So, for example, look at this. Look at this cart. Look at this ridiculousness. Like, totally like muck that up. It's all, the edges are terrible. This is all mucked up. I accidentally plunged in the wrong spot with the domino here. I mean, it's just. But the nice thing is that when you color it blue black and you look at it, looks pretty good. Of course, if it was natural colored and you went and if it was blue black, you got to get close to it and see. Oh yeah, you mucked that up. If it's natural colored, you just be from afar. You're like, oh dude, I'm not even going to look at that. That's just disgusting. Yeah, I think it's getting smoky in here. Might have to start opening the garage door soon. George says that two at once. I can barely wrap my head around the flavors of. You can do it, man. I believe in you. I believe in you. Devin says that I find that when the two are similar, one masks the other or it just blends. When they are different, they shine individually. Kind of opposite in coffee. Oh, that could be. I don't know. No, I think that. Well, I think it depends. Like when we talk about, like for example, I was on the live stream this morning when I was roasting. I was talking about blending a little bit of the espresso. The two coffees that we're using right now in the espresso are very different, right? But I think they go very well together to create the cohesive whole that we're looking for. One is a washed coffee with a lot of chocolatey notes, a lot of body, some nuttiness, and then the other one, the one that's in a smaller quantity, is a natural processed coffee that has a lot of berry tones, right? And so I'm using the two together to bring a more, hopefully a more complex experience for the drinker. So I don't think necessarily that it's opposite in coffee. I think they can, disparate types of coffees can come together very well. It's as with anything. I think it's just a matter of, you know, tasting the different coffees or the different tobaccos and trying them out. As you know, tobacco goes through this whole, pre-industry and processing, fermentation, and all that stuff, and aging that affects the flavor of the tobaccos. Much like coffee is being processed, so you have there's so many variables to control, so many variables to account for, and so many possibilities for creating distinct or interesting flavors. So, but this one's, man, I don't know if this is supposed to be a heavy cigar, but right now, for this part, I would not say that it's like a heavy cigar. I would not describe it as heavy. Like when I think of heavy cigars, I think of like certain types of Roma crafts that are just kind of pounding you in the face. They're just kind of like, you silly man, why are you trying this cigar? Why do you think you can stand up to this, to our, to our what do they call that? Manbacco. I can't. I just can't. I am saying there's some chocolatey notes now. I'm enjoying the flavor. Man, it's really, really nice. Like I don't really, I don't really smoke a lot of La Flor Dominicanas, mainly because they're. I think I don't necessarily think of them as the first go-to cigar for me. Maybe because I've had some of those early Chisels or other La Flors, like the Andalusian Bull, that are very, very heavy and kind of in your face. And I don't necessarily want to have that. Like, even though I enjoy Roma Craft, I like the Intemperance. I'm not always reaching. I'm not going to really necessarily reach for like Neanderthal or the Aquitaine. Those are some heavy duty cigars, right? I like a more medium plus kind of experience, which I think is why I like the Cotui Brown line, why I like the Intemperance Revenge. I think the Intemperance Revenge kind of on the heavier side, right? Like the lightweight heavy that Sean Coleman produced. I still have one. I haven't smoked it yet because I got to be in the right moment, the right time for that heaviness. George says, from what I've experienced with the Chisel, when it gets closer to the end, the ring gauge gets a little thinner, then buckle your... all right, I'm looking forward to that. Remember that. Buckle my seatbelt. Don't want to get carried away right here. But right now, I gotta say, this is delicious, tasty, complex, chocolate, spice. You know what it reminds me of? There's a there's a there's a there's a spicy version of the Vosges chocolate. Vosges is a chocolate company based in Chicago, Illinois, that this woman owns, and I met her many years ago. I forgot her name already, but they're done very well. They're still around, and they have this bar that has like chilies in it. Right now, this cigar gives me a lot of reminiscence of that chocolate. Spicy, chocolatey. Like really, that's damn good. Whew, I am liking it. Let's have a little bit of the coffee. Last week we ran out of propane. I'm still in the same tank from last week. I hope it'll run out tonight. Really nice. So yeah, how are your cigars coming along? Let me know. I'm interested to know. I was thinking earlier tonight about tomorrow's coffee Q&A live stream, right? And I got to do some deliveries tomorrow, so I was thinking maybe I'll do it from the road. I was looking for like last week I did a couple of coffee shops, right? And I was thinking maybe do another coffee shop. We went to Starbucks last time, but I'm like, man, when I look online and I punch in coffee or coffee shops on the Google Maps, there's not much out there. Like there is mostly Dunkin's and then Starbucks, and that's pretty much it. There, outside of those two, there's not too many places to go. It's like, man, this is really difficult. I found a place that does some kind of like Arabic coffee, place called Coffee with a Q, Cafe, Qaffee. They're on Instagram. They look interesting. Unfortunately, they're a mobile operation, so they don't stay in one place at all the time, and they're not open all the time. The only time they're open in the morning is Saturday and Sunday. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be anywhere near those places on Saturday or Sunday. Last week, we went to a place called PJ's or JP's. It's a coffee chain from New Orleans where they do freshly fried beignets. So I had a cafe au lait with a beignet, really delicious, actually. And then the last time we went to Starbucks and had the caramel brulee latte. Went inside, the girls at the baristas there were like, "You should try the caramel brulee latte." I was like, "All right, let's try the caramel brulee latte." Fun, fun, fun drinking. A little bit of an uneven burn, probably because of the way that I'm puffing on it. It's a little bit odd in here because now it's very quiet. There's two electric fans in here that are heater fans, and they both stopped. I guess we've reached a good temperature where they turn off. So now it's silent. It's like the silence of the lambs. Yesterday, actually, it's freaky to be here. It was so quiet. So yesterday, I finally signed up. Well, I finally took my. I decided to. Oh, there we go. Since I've been starting to do this wood thing, right? I thought maybe I should take a class, like introduction to wood shop, so I can like learn some proper techniques for using the equipment because I don't really know how to use this stuff. So our first session, two sessions, was yesterday, and their basic thing is like, this is how you, this is the basics of like rough sawn lumber. So you have rough sawn lumber and the way that it's finished, and then they would teach us how to finish the lumber so that you would like plane, plane, no, you joint, plane, joint again, and then cut on the table saw. And I was like, oh, all right. So teaching us how to like use the table saw, where to stand, how to handle the material. I was like, okay, good, because I need that because I'm totally doing it wrong. And doing it wrong can get you in trouble. And the instructor's a great guy named Ryan, right? Funny things, I've been going to this Woodcraft and I got to know all the staff there fairly well. Like they know who we are, we know them, and Ryan is actually friends with some people in the coffee industry that I know. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That's nice to know that. But he left out a particular detail I thought was kind of funny. And I was like, because some of the guys were like, one of the guy's wives used to work for you. And I was like, what? What guy? Turns out it was Ryan. I was like, Ryan, he never said anything about that. So one day I was there. I was like, dude, man, your wife used to work for me? And he was like, oh, yeah, yeah. I just didn't think it was, I think he's like, I just didn't think it was important. I was like, well, what did she, like, is there a reason? Like, did she say that I was some kind of asshole or something? Which wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have been surprised if she had said that. But I was just like, he was like, no, nothing like that. I was like, oh, okay, very good. But I was like, we've been talking all these months, and you didn't tell me that your wife used to work for me. I'm like, I hope I didn't live up to the expectation. Like, hey, we're gonna knock the ash off here. I don't think I'm going to say we're through the first third yet. What do you think? First third? Yes or no? It's definitely getting a little bit thick. Oh, the other one. Devin says the L'Atelier is doing really well in the cold. Very pronounced rude type aroma. Wow. All right. With a nice peculiar tobacco note I can't describe. The Comena is struggling in the cold, but rich in creaminess. Oh, nice. With notes of tangerine, citrus, and lit chocolate. Oh, awesome. Oh, that sounds lovely. Kyle and those guys from Warped are really, they make some really nice cigars. Also, Kyle Gellis, the guy that runs Warped, he's really into coffee as well. Every time I see him, we always end up talking about coffee. Even the guys from Privada Cigar evidently are into coffee. I just saw something on Instagram today where they're talking about how they're starting to roast their own coffee too. And I was like, everybody's roasting coffee now. Maybe I should start making cigars. If you're going to come to my lane, I'm going to go into your lane. Devin says he was a roaster based out of Nicaragua. Wait, who was a roaster? The guy from Privado was a roaster in Nicaragua, or they're using a roaster in Nicaragua. I know that the Roma Craft at one point was using a Nicaraguan-based roaster by the name of. They had an airplane on their logo. What was it called? I don't recall anymore. Flight safety, not flight safety. I can't remember. But okay. Oh, Kyle was a roaster based in Nicaragua. Okay, okay. Oh, I didn't know that he roasted. I don't. Or maybe he did tell me. I don't recall. Hmm. I should call him and ask him. But yeah, this is quite nice. The chisel tip has opened up a little bit, so like it got for a few moments there was a little bit tighter, but now it's maybe I think I pressed down on it like this to open up a little bit, but now the flow is very nice. I tend to enjoy box pressed cigars more than normally pressed cigars. I think some of the box press that just encourages better flow rate. I wonder if that's normal. So, Bud, this is something for you. Does rectangular HVAC tubing flow better than circular tubing? Ducting, ducting. All right, now I'm going to have to open the door. Hang on a second. It's kind of like we're in the Death Star. And what do they call that? The bay, the docking bay. You kind of look out. There's the room, the docking bay, and there's suddenly this black void where Alderaan used to be. And it's gone now because we obliterated it. Power of the Empire. Bud says there's a chart for that that tells you what the flow rate is for the size of pipe. Ah, but do you think You think that the flow rate is better or more free-flowing in a rectangular sized shaped duck or circular shaped duck? Duct. Tony asked, did anyone get any of the 2 new special edition La Riqueza releases from Cotui? I didn't even know about it. Oh, it's cold out there. George, man, I don't know how you're doing out there, but man, mad props to you. In just a few moments that the door's been open, I'm like feeling it. I'm going to put my hat back on. But it's nice to get that smokiness blown out. I got the fan rolling here. Surprisingly, this fan is angled towards the door, and it does a fairly good job of blowing the smoke out of the space. So, like, sometimes I will have a cigar in here while watching some shows, and it's really quite pleasant. Bud says that probably around the issue is when you change directions. Ram would probably be much better with square duct. You need to have turning vanes inside the ductwork for best airflow. Oh, I didn't know about that. Now, what little I do know about ductwork is like related to coffee roasters, where they talk about, the length of the run from the roaster, and then every time you make a turn, like if you do 90-degree turns, right, like full 90s, you always want to go 45, 45 to make that 90. But if you do a full 90, it's got so much resistance in the flow that it's basically like adding another 10 feet of leg. It's kind of it's like the only thing I can talk about that makes me sound like I have any kind of. George says simple, I'm an idiot. But still, much respect to you out there, braving the cold elements to hang out with us. It is greatly appreciated. Devin says, I did, but I don't know which one it was. Oh, about the cigar. Corona size looked like a natural wrapper. Okay. Tony, have you had those? Oh, and Darren says it was awesome, like the original. Oh, I guess that's not what Bud meant to say. Don't blame it on Siri, man. Don't blame it on Siri. Oh, Craig's with us. What's going on, Craig, man? Have the Fest toolboxes reproduced? Actually, since the last time, well, in some respects, yes. But this was just down below. It just looks more impressive now. There's actually kind of, in some respects, there's less up here than there was. I could just rearrange them. Eventually, they're all going to go away. They're all going to go away and get dropped down below, hidden away. And mainly, they're just boxes. They're not actually tools. There's only like maybe 4 tools in here. 4 tools out of how many boxes are here? Actually, one has DeWalt tools in it. Tony says, Devin, if I didn't have the secondary Tuxla band on it, then it was probably the connected wrapper. Oh, okay. Oh, and not yet. You haven't had one, but not just ordered some. Excellent. Oh, yeah, single band. Okay, nice, nice. Louder cases. Okay, so I'm going to say that we're getting close to the band. So we've been to the first third. I think for flavor, I really like it. I'm going to say 875 and 875 for the body, but it's not very like heavy. Like this has not been a heavy cigar. This has been a really nice, beautiful, complex, expressive, chocolatey, spicy cigar, but it's not been heavy. Right? So Brian says, "What's up?" All right, so we're getting close. I don't have to remove the band, but I'm going to remove the band, or at least the bottom band. There's like 2. Looks like there's 2 bands, or maybe it's just one big wide one. Oh yeah, it's just one big wide one. Okay, we're going to remove that. It's kind of nice. kind of big. Oh yeah, how's the weather up there in Ottawa? And how's the house? Like you moved to a new house? Last week you weren't able to smoke with us because you were doing something in the house. How's it going? I presume you guys have snow by now in Ottawa? Like we had heavy rains here the last couple of days. Last night was a lot of wind, which kind of sucked, but it was like, at least it was, for me, I was like, at least it's not snowing, because as much as I enjoy snow at times, it does add another level of complexity to the world. Because even though Maryland is used to getting snow, we're probably not, we certainly don't know snow in the way that you guys up north know snow. Like you guys are much more equipped to handle snow. Like I think from what I've seen in the past, like you've got to have like super blizzard in order for you to shut down. Here we have a little bit of snow, everything 1 or 2 inches, we're going to shut everything down here. It's not like but we're not like the Carolinas, like a dusting and suddenly everything gets shut down. Here we're a little bit more. Craig says, I'm just taking a break from putting on my snow tire. Oh, nice. I gotta say, that's one thing. Speaking of snow tires, that's the one thing I enjoyed about renting cars in Germany. Now, I don't know if this is true throughout France, because I've only really been to Germany in the wintertime. But in Germany, they're super strict about that kind of thing. Like the rental car places, man, they replace all the tires with snow tires, at some point during the fall. And so whenever you get there and it's like towards in the wintertime, like they all got snow tires. You're like, you don't have to worry so much. I'm going to presume also, Craig, that the racing has slowed down during this time of year. I got to say, this LFD, it's really pretty. Really, really beautiful. Racing was over in October. Oh, sorry, man. It's the long slumber. So, do you have a race car, or you're just part of a race team? I remember. I thought. My impression was that you're definitely part of a racing organization, from what I've seen on your Instagram. But I'm not clear if you actually have a car that you raced yourself. Devin says that Tony, definitely a buy for me at $11. Oh, that's not a bad price. And ice racing starts in January. Whoa, ice racing. All right, that's Canada. That's Canada. There's every. That's something we. That's something here in Maryland we don't even think about, like ice racing. I'm going to presume that you put studs on your tires for ice racing. Sounds kind of fascinating. Oh, Craig says I'm retired from racing, just an official now. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I gotta say, man, those guys that race, these guys are impressive. Like, especially the professional guys that are doing 100, 150, 200 miles an hour. Like, how you guys can see what's happening at such a high rate of speed and in just milliseconds is really like stunning. I'm just like, whoa. Because I watch race videos, whether it's like F1 or like rally, and the rally guys, right? I guess at F1, like you kind of know the course or something. The rally guys, I mean, those guys are like out of control. I'm like, oh my God, man, those guys, like, they're like going crazy, crazy. And they're flying over the humps and they're crashing into things. Like, oh man. But I gotta say, I remember this one video that I saw of these rally guys. These rally guys are driving. They're probably driving some kind of like Subaru WRX, right? They're gunning it. They're just going, giving their all, right? They're just going for it. And they hit something and the car rolls. And I remember the navigator, right? He's just all like the car is like has hit something and is now, you know, pole vaulting and rolling. And the guy just casually look, you see the camera from behind them, right? And you see the guy just kind of casually put his hand up. I guess he's grabbing the the roll cage or something. He just kind of giving him a little more support to hold him up to from, and he just they rolled up, boom, 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 and then rolled. They ended up landing back on their wheels, and I guess it wasn't too bad. I think I remember them just continuing to drive, but I was like, whoa, or maybe they didn't drive away, but I was just like, those guys were so like calm about the crash. I would have been like totally freaked. I don't. Craig says that there's different classes for rubber to ice, street legal studs, and race studs. Oh wow! So do you have to create a course? Like, do you have to like find a parking lot or a course, and you have to create ice? Like, you got to spray it and then create a layer of ice, or are you like finding frozen lakes and just racing on the lake? Because I just am curious how you would set that kind of thing up, or do you do like an ice rink and just kind of drive and race in the oval? This is a delicious cigar. This is one of those times when it's like, it's a really enjoyable, delicious cigar. But I don't really feel like I think the descriptives that I'm giving are appropriate for what I'm experiencing. Very good plus. Not necessarily excellent, but very good plus. Craig says that I'm famous on YouTube for crashing into an ocean during. Was this because you couldn't see the ocean? You just kind of like, I'm rolling along, rolling along. Oh, there's an ocean. Oh shit. Okay. You have to you can't post a link on here that will show up for everyone. But you kind of have to tell us how to find it so we can see it. Or maybe you can post. Well, I don't know if you post a link if you want to. You don't have to. If you want to, I'm sure everyone would love to see it. But maybe it'll show up. I don't know because I'm using StreamYard as a transmission source. So I don't know if people post links if it shows up on my on my control center here. If I was using YouTube, it would show up, and then I could approve it for use. Let me see if I can go to my YouTube channel on the laptop here, or to this YouTube channel. For ice racing, all the above. Oh, nice. That's epic. That's epic, man. That's epic. Trying to navigate there now. Okay, I can see I can see it from my YouTube control center, as you can see there. That's me right there, a few seconds behind. Hmm, quite nice. right, I'm gonna have to close the door now because had enough of this. All right, I've closed the blast doors. Ooh, I gotta get a little bit of warmth back. Like someone said earlier, now I'm starting to feel a little bit more strength building. The link has not shown up here yet, Craig. It actually didn't even show up on my control center. You can see it down there. Maybe try one more time. We'll see if it works, or you know, the Death Star secure. We have closed the 2-meter porthole. 2 meters or 3 meters? And Luke was all showing off about, oh, that's nothing bigger than a womp rat back home. What womp rat? What womp rat have you shot traveling at, like, light speed? Whatever, man. Evacuate in our moment of glory. There's that meme or that the thing that says that goes something like that says that in that moment he knew he fucked up. Was there so the Death Star explodes, right? Was there enough time for Grand Moff Tarkin to be sitting there and having that same thought? In that moment, he knew he fucked up. Or was it just kind of this instantaneous lights out for him? I dropped the YouTube part, so you have to add it back in. Watch V7HF. Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah, and it's not. Unfortunately, the oops, the link does not show up. The link doesn't even show up on here. That's very strange. I thought it would. I wonder if I can. Oh, I can cut and paste that. Okay, I'm gonna cut and paste that. YouTube. All right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, come on. He's a flat-out driver. He's 44. He's a guy who gives it all he's got, and on day 4, he's blowing out all the stops. Oh. Holy crap. Oh my gosh, man. That is insane. Oh my gosh. We had to. Holy smoke. Craig Sago's Porsche 944 went into the harbor at Garnish. They just pulled the car out. It's stripping off. The guys are in hospital cooling down. They're fine. It is drying out. But this car is gone for the day. Gone for the day? How come it's not going to full screen? Go to full screen. Oh, one more time. We got to do this one more time. Oh, no. For centuries, people have been drawn to this rugged coastline with the natural resources available here. One more time. Craig Sagan was a flat-out driver in his Porsche 944. He's a guy who gives it all he's got, and on day 4, he's pulling out all the stops. Nice car, though. Ooh. Oh my God, man. Doors, that door, open it. I'm opening. Open it. Right. Yeah, I'm looking in the. Here, Craig Sager's Porsche 944 went into the harbor at Garnish. They just pulled the car out. It's dripping off. The guys are in hospital, cooling down. They're fine. They're just drying out. But this car is gone for the day. Oh my. That's craziness, man. Craziness. So, gotta ask, man. Gotta ask. So, we're all old enough to remember the movie Risky Business. How many U-boat jokes did you have to endure after that? Devin says you did a Richard Hammond. So it looks like you're supposed to go like a U-turn. Is that right? And just didn't make that U-turn. It happens. It happens. That's epic, though. That is an epic wipeout. So when you sink a car like that, well, I guess you didn't sink it. And how deep? First of all, how deep was the water? How difficult was it to recover? And were you able to salvage the car and run it and have it repaired and run again? Because that's wild, just wild. Craig says my mechanic had the car running the next day. Whoa, that's hard. That's awesome, dude. A good team is just so precious. That's the next day you're running. Gosh, that's amazing. Like I see those. I've seen videos where people talk about like what to do when you crash if you happen to crash in the water like that. Like how to open the windows and how to break them open, how to escape from the vehicle before you drown. Like that seems kind of scary, especially if you're like, you got your 4.5, 6 or whatever harness and you're really strapped in. Like there's got to be a level of panic associated with that. Tire was going out and it was a shallow bit. Oh, good, good. So did the car fully submerge or was it just kind of like, oh yeah, I still get you. You gotta be, man. That is, yeah. I give you A+ on that, man. That's just, if you must wipe out, that is memorable. So was it a thing? Okay, so you're going through this. You're coming down the straightaway, and then it looks like you're supposed to make that right hairpin U-turn. At what point are you like, oh shit, I'm in trouble now? Like, can you estimate how far away from the edge of the water you were by the time you realized that I'm kind of hosed? And how much of this incident led to your retirement from the circuit? Sorry, I can't help but to ask. I have to ask. These are the questions that my curious mind is just interested to learn. Oh, 90-degree turn. We had done the same stage earlier in the day, but this time there was more gravel. Oh, gotcha. I mean, I mean, from what little I know about racing, I mean, drivers usually have walked the course, know the course fairly well, and anticipate the different turns and what they have to do. That's why I was like, whoa, that's that's crazy. It's probably one of those things where you're like trying to turn, and you're like, oh, my car is not turning. I no longer have proper adhesion to the road surface. I've had that. Never in a controlled course, typically on the road. Like I remember one year, I ran tired when I ran off. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that happens. I remember one time I was in, I think it was 2008. I was in Portland, Oregon for a coffee conference, and I decided to rent a car to go from Portland to Vancouver, Canada, to visit some friends. And so you have to. I drove from Portland to Vancouver, so through Washington State, through Seattle, up to Canada. And on the way there, so I went to the rental agency. You know, this is crunchy Portland, Oregon, right? So I'm thinking, I should get like a Subaru or something like that. You know, it was winter-ish, like maybe like March or so. Not really winter, but not, and like it's not snowing or anything. And I would go there, and this is an era where I was just renting whatever car they had. I was just like, yeah, just give me whatever. I don't really care. Like, just give me the cheapest car, whatever you have, I'll take. And I got to the rental car agency, and I figured they'd give me something small. And they're like, well, we have the Hummer H3, and I was like, H3? That's all I need in crunchy Portland is for like to drive around in this beast of a vehicle that drinks gasoline, petroleum products that all these crunchy people are gonna be like, why are you driving all that? What's wrong with you? So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. It was perfectly fine. I was totally a baller. So I'm on the way to Vancouver, and I'm just on the I-5. I'm just south of Seattle, where the mountains are. And for whatever reason, on this day, at this moment, there's a microburst. And this microburst was snow. And I'm cruising at like 70, 75 miles an hour. I'm cruising, and suddenly there's a microburst. I'm like, what the hell, right? And I'm just like, I'm just cruising along. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. But suddenly I realized I started to feel the vehicle started to feel different. And I started to turn the wheel like this to try to just a little bit, just to see like how much adhesion I have. And I'm turning it. And I'm turning, right? I got the wheel at least this far over, and we're still just still gliding straight. I was like, oh crap, I have no adhesion to the road. Like, if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna wipe out in this H3 Hummer. How much it's gonna cost? Who I got insurance, but I was like, oh my gosh. And so for just a few moments, the pucker factor was extremely high. So as I'm holding it like this, I'm like, I'm screwed now. I'm screwed now. And then suddenly it caught, and then it cut, and then it was able to track, and then we were through the microburst. I was like, holy crap, terrible. Like I said a moment ago, it was a little bit strong, but I thought the strength was going to build, but it hasn't really built. It's still, gosh, this is still really a nice cigar. Very enjoyable, great flavors, spice, complexity. Still a little bit of that chocolatiness. Terribly enjoyable, though. I would have to say I highly recommend you trying this out if you haven't tried them. Like, it has been a fun cigar. And unlike the last couple months, I finally sat down today to map out the rest of the year. So next week we're going to be doing this cigar from Ferio Tegu. Is that right, Ferio Tegu? The Timeless by Ferio. That was also gifted to me by George. So we're going to try that next week. And then that's going to be the 19th of December. And I can't believe it's already the end of the year. The end of the year is upon us in 2 weeks. 2 weeks on the 26th, the day after Christmas, we're going to be doing the My Father Garcia y Garcia to round out the year. I was trying, we had a lot of these like My Father and what do we smoked a lot of? We've smoked a lot of My Fathers. We smoked a lot of, what's the other brand we've been smoking a lot lately? But I was kind of like trying not to do them all in a row. But then the week after that, the first week of 2025, we're going to come and taste the Cotui 20th anniversary. One of my good friends, Dave Knopf, was very kind enough to gift me some of these 20th anniversaries, so we're going to give that a try. So those are going to be the cigars for the next 3 weeks. So if you happen to be able to get them, get one of each, and can smoke them at the same time, I'd love to hear your thoughts on those. What else did I smoke? There was something else that I smoked that I really enjoyed this past weekend while we were at our, let me see if I can find it. I think I have a listing of it. Ah, yes, I was able to try George also gave me this past weekend the La Union, or the La Union, the La Union, the Cotui My Father collaboration. That was a wonderful smoke too. I think if you can try that, the La Union collaboration cigar between My Father and Cotui, that's an excellent smoke as well. So I think we're going to end out the year with some really nice cigars. A little fun note there. I mentioned last week's cigar, the Don Pepin Garcia 20th anniversary Corojo 99 Oscuro. If I remember correctly, so that comes in. I said last week that comes in an LE Blue humidor. Was made especially for this. There was only like maybe 75 made in the nation. I was asking George about it. I said, so how much is that if you were to buy it outright? $12,000. I was like, whoa, $12,000. Holy moly. The nice thing is that he was telling me that at Capitol Cigar, what they did is they had like two boxes, I think, two humidors. And so what they did is they sold all the cigars individually or in, whatever people bought. And as kind of like a thank you to their guests, they actually raffled them off. So two people were able to win these LE Blue humidors. Really nice. Now, this particular cigar, the LFD 30th anniversary, from what I was reading, also comes in a humidor that is made by Lito Gomez's Box Factory. There are 2,000 of those made, 60 cigars in each box. I forgot to look at the MSRP on those, but looked really pretty. I started smoking cigars in the early to mid 90s, which was a great time to get into it, right? It was right before the cigar boom of 1997. And so leading up to that, there was a lot of nice cigars out there. But now in modern times, I think about sometimes like if you were like the new cigar smoker, people that are coming to the cigar world now, this is also, I think, a great time to be a cigar smoker that's entering, because the level of discovery of brands and styles of cigar that are available are really unparalleled. Like it's really an amazing time to be in cigars. Like all these like really specially focused cigar makers that have been doing this 20, 30 years, they're really coming onto their own. They've got new generations of cigar makers producing really lovely smokes. I used to think that the mid 90s were a great time of cigars. I think this is a better time. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe you guys think differently. What do you think about that? Perhaps not necessarily as great a time in the world of Cuban cigars, but definitely in non-Cuban cigars, I think it's a really exciting time to be involved or to be a cigar smoker. Of course, here in the United States, I don't have as much exposure to the range of Cuban cigars that are out there. but in my travels, the times that I've traveled to different places and tried cigars, and they're good. There's definitely good, great cigars in their lineup. But I think the way that they handle their production makes it a little bit sometimes great, sometimes not so great. Like when I had when they debuted the Media Luna from Trinidad in 2018, that was tremendous. And I've had a couple Media Lunas since that time. They've all been tremendous. But I don't know if and of course Cuban cigars are also at a higher premium now than ever before. So if you're just mainly a Cuban cigar smoker, I don't know if you have necessarily the breadth of cigar styles and excitement at a decent price point. And even Craig says not a good time for Cubans. So yeah. George says that the quality control today is amazing. Very few duds out there in terms of lack of construction. That's very true. That's very true. Even when you're talking about these small boutique cigars, like one of the ones I think about is the Crook of the Crown guys. What's the name of that company that released the Crook of the Crown? Even that shop that released those cigars, and they're beholden to whoever's producing their cigars. Their releases always seem to have very high levels of quality, at least construction. I did have that experience that one year where I bought that bundle of the Crook of the Crown, and it took most of the year before that cigar was actually ready to be really enjoyable. Craig says that nobody I know buys new Cubans. Ah, I hear you. Yeah, like they're so expensive. But when I was it 2022, 2 years ago, that was right when they started to raise the prices to match prices in Asia worldwide. I remember I was down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, went to one of the cigar lounges, a really nice cigar lounge. I forgot the name offhand, but they had a Cuban cigar there. I think it was a Bolivar, or maybe it was a Cohiba. It was 300 US dollars for one cigar. I was like, holy moly, that is craziness. $300. I'm not buying that. Even Devin says that love of the variety, quality smokes usually. Only the prices took at least a $5. Yeah, that's. It would be nicer if we had more cigars that were really, really great in the $10 and under category. But maybe I'm feeling it. But and I think there still are some good cigars under 10. Tony can probably tell us more about that. But there for quite a few years, especially through the 2010s. I really stopped considering cigars above like $12 because it was just like when the Drew Estate T52 Bellicoso jumped from like 13 up to 15 to 18. That's when I stopped smoking. I was like, it's a great cigar. I just don't want to spend $15 to $18 on one. Especially that was a time when Romacraft was just really not coming out, but just really picking up speed. And you can get, the Revenge for like sometimes as low as $7. I was like, oh, $7. That's where I like to be. I like to be there. Craig says, to be honest, I'd be happy smoking Padron 1000. Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Agreed 100%. Those Padron 1000 series are solid cigars. Even today, I think they still represent excellent value. And even I'll even say that Perdomo, with some of their Perdomo cigars, is also good value, great value. Like I've said before, for a while there, I was smoking quite a bit of the Perdomo Lot 23 Maduros. At the time, they were like just under $6. That was a nice Robusto sized cigar. Devin says there's a 10-year age on the label Septimo, but $100. That's a lot of money. $100. I think someone asked me last week, what's the most expensive? I don't recall having spent that kind of money. I mean, $100, man. It's got to be something truly, it's got to be a masterpiece to spend that level of cash. Those two cigars, the Mirfil Mayor Churchill and last week's Don Pepin Garcia, those were epic cigars in that $40 range. And I think it's a price, expensive price, but those are two cigars that despite the price deliver incredible performance. That Pepin Garcia one, the 20th anniversary, I gave it a 95 last week, which is the highest rated cigar ever on this show. And as I was looking for the lineup for the next 3 weeks, I mentioned next week we're going to do the Terrio whatever, the timeless cigar, and then do the Garcia. I was trying to figure out which one to go first of the two. So I went to Half Wheel to look up their scores on it, because I was gonna let their scores dictate the progression. And I was really surprised. I think the timeless Half Wheel gave it 83, and the Garcia Half Wheel gave it 85. And I was really surprised, because I figured, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this or what you think about this, but 83 and 85 for Half Wheel seems rather low. Maybe I'm just thinking about Cigar Aficionado, where everything seems to be 92 and up. Where they seem very easy to give 90s. But even I thought those were, I was just surprised. I don't know what you guys think. Oh, Tony says, Devin, I'd take 2 of the Padron 50-year out of the humidor. Those Padron 50s, those are quite nice too. I've only had 2 of those, courtesy of our friend Matt. Devin says, I'm with you on that, Tony, but I've been liking aging and aged cigars. But I'm still learning about age and what can be aged and if it's worth it. And that's interesting. We had a discussion about that with George and Tom, because Tom was asking George, because one of the cigars that I brought to the dinner was a Don Carlos number 3, which is a Corona-shaped cigar. When I started smoking cigars in the early to mid 90s, the Don Carlos was probably the most celebrated cigar of that time. Wildly difficult to obtain, but I was able to obtain a box. And so I brought the remainder of that box for the dinner and gave it to the guys for us to smoke. Really lovely cigar. And that cigar now is what? 1995, 2005, 10, 2020, 29 years old. Held up extremely well. Still very beautiful structure, beautiful flavor. But during that era, in the mid 90s, is when I started buying a lot of cigars. And I bought a lot of boxes, and I put them in my humidor. A lot of them were regular line Arturo Fuente, the green labels, as well as regular line La Gloria Cubanas, when Ernesto Correa Jr. used to make them in Miami. And I also have a few of the Partagas number 10s, which were my favorite cigar at the time. And I remember, through the years, maybe after about 10 years, I tried maybe the Selection Privada number 1 from Arturo Fuente. And I remember trying one at one point, and I was like, smoking it, I was like, it was disappointing. It was hollow. and not very flavorful and just very disappointing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I waited too long and it has become this shallow impression of what it was. And I was really kind of like, oh man, I totally screwed up. So I didn't touch them again for at least another 5 years. And I smoked it one again. When I returned to it a few years later, completely different experience. Really great. So I think that with cigars, and I think George was telling me at this one point, there are periods of fallowness, right? They're kind of like maybe a sine wave would be the best way to think about it. You reach a high and then it will drop down to a low and then it'll come back. And the question is, how long can you keep a cigar? So quite a few years ago, before Raul moved the tobacco leaf from its old location to the new location now, I was there one night for an event with Pete Johnson from Cotui. And one of the guys who came there had brought these cigars, these kind of like figurado shaped cigars, really small, kind of like Corona size cigar, maybe smaller than Corona, petite Corona size, but they were figurados. I forgot the exact name of them. These cigars, these cigars at the time were something like 70 years old. They were actually Nazi era cigars from Germany, stamped with Nazi, SS symbolism on it. And this guy was kind enough to give everybody there one of these cigars. I got one and I smoked it. 70 years old, and it still had really good flavor. Like, it was a tasty cigar. Not like these kind of things that are like, you know, but still had flavor, still had interesting like character to it. So one of the questions Tom was asking, like, how long can you keep cigars? And I don't know. Like, that cigar was 70 years old at the time, and it was still very enjoyable. So I don't know. I think, the better the quality of the cigar, the better potential for the aging. But one of the things George was saying is that one of the differences now in modern times, which is to our point about this being a great heyday of cigars, is that a lot of cigars coming out today have been aged. They're ready to smoke now. They're ready to be enjoyed at this moment. And not necessarily cigars that you have to put down to improve on its quality. Devin says the pu'er tea really makes me ponder. Oh yeah, those guys with the pu'er, those guys are like, one of my buddies is truly a tea expert. He owns his own. He now owns his own tea company in Portland, Oregon. And when I first met him, like 12 years ago, he was working for a company in Brooklyn. I met him at the Tea Expo in Las Vegas. I was just starting on my journey to learn tea. And tea, like, I think I have like in 2013, I had a fairly good handle of understanding on coffee production, coffee quality, and all that. But going to that tea expo and meeting these tea people and learning about tea, it seems so much more complex, so much more nuanced. And these Chinese guys that deal in pu'er, like my friend was telling me, he's like, even though he has strong connections with tea gardens in China and across the world now, after he's been in, by that point, he'd been in business well over 10 years. Doing like much was doing coffee, where you go to the tea gardens, you meet the people, and you build relationships, and you get to know it, and you buy its teas from them, year after year. And he back then, he was like, there are certain teas that they will not sell outside of China to anyone but Chinese. I was like, wow, that is really just a fascinating world. It's totally a fascinating place. Tony says, Devin, I'm leery of a new company like El Septimo having a 10-year-old cigar. Maybe 10-year-old tobaccos, but definitely not worth the price either way. As far as aging, I like everything at least 1 to 2 years. Okay. I wonder if it's like those alcohol companies. Like, I've seen rum companies like this, whiskey companies where The company, like I remember this one company called Don Papa, which is a rum producer out of the Philippines, relatively new. And I remember when they came out with a 10-year age rum, and I was like, how in the world is this company that's only a couple years old coming out with a 10-year age rum? But then I learned from other people that, oh yeah, the distilleries that do the production for them actually have inventory from years past. So I was like, okay. So I can imagine somebody like El Septimo would probably working with a factory that would have access to that level of aging on their tobacco. Fascinating, but $100, that's a lot. Like if you're not, I'm just going to go surmise on stuff that I don't really know much about, but I would imagine that companies like El Septimo that don't necessarily control their vertical production, they may be buying these cigars with these special tobaccos, and they have to charge $100 to make their margin on it because otherwise it just costs them so much more to produce. Whereas someone like Padron or Lito Gomez, Carlito Jr., they've been involved for so long that they would have warehouses filled with tobaccos that they can turn to create their products at without necessarily having to have such a dramatic markup. But it would be interesting to try that Septimo to see what $100 cigar from Septimo would be like. I mean, one of the other ones that I've been always kind of thinking about maybe trying one day is that $100 cigar from Steve Saka. What do they call that? I know one of you guys will remember what they call it. The unicorn? They only release it once a year. Evidently, they come in like coffins, $100 a piece. I've always thought, and they usually come out this time of year. I've always thought maybe like getting one for the show. Devin says, I agree. I feel like Cubans are all the same, but need 80 years. Good Lord. Profit of 900%. Unicorn. Okay, it is unicorn. Okay. Okay. Cigar Shark's with us. What's going on, Cigar Shark? Welcome to the show. Have you tried Conviction? I've not even heard of Conviction. Tell us a little bit more. I'm not. Maybe the other guys know, but I'm not familiar with Conviction. All right, I'm going to say we're definitely through the second third, so I need to catch up on that. I still think we're at 875. So very good plus. Okay, sorry about that. My phone just died, so I had to plug it into the to this battery source, and so my iPhone is now over a year old, and where a year ago I didn't have to worry about running out of battery, I guess now I do. Tony's leaving early day tomorrow. Good night, all. Good to see you, Tony. Hope you're doing well. Sorry about that. So, but like I was saying, the in my mind, in my experience with Rocky Patel, I would be reticent to spend $100 with Rocky Patel. I found his cigars over the years to not necessarily fit my palate. But I will say early on in this show, in the first year that we did this, the first fall that we did this show, I did smoke the Mareva cigar that Rocky Patel produces for the World Cigar Smoking Championship, which is a really small petite Corona. And the idea of this smoking championship is that you're supposed to smoke it. You get, I think, two matches, and you smoke the cigar, and whoever can smoke the cigar the longest wins. And when we featured that cigar, I was quite hesitant to do that because I was like, I hadn't really found many Rocky Patels that I like. To me, Rocky Patel and Gurkha are kind of synonymous as far as the quality of cigars, but that Mareva was excellent, excellent cigar. Probably one of the best cigars of 2020 that we smoked that year. So, initially, $100 for a Rocky seems like a risk, but perhaps, you know, perhaps we might change on that. So we're coming down to the end. I know we're a little bit longer than normal. I think we can give a grade to this one. I think we're really kind of at the same position. So I'm going to say 8.5, 8.75 for the 8.75 for different body throughout the three segments. So very good plus. Burn and draw, I'm going to say has been a consistency has been 9, so 18. And I'm going to say overall 8.75, which actually gives us a total score of 90.75, placing this in the rare category of plus 90 plus cigars that we smoke. Definitely one of the top cigars of the year. Let's see where that puts us here. Let me look online at our ranking scale. Am I still with you? I think I'm still with you. One of the nice things about using StreamYard as the transmission source is that if we have it like we did just now, when I lose connection, it doesn't automatically terminate the stream. It'll actually hold the stream until for a while before it actually shuts it down completely. Where I was streaming off of YouTube, it would shut it down immediately. Strength. It really still very nice. It's a little more concentrated, a little bit sharper right now because we're at the very end. It's taking a long time to load the page. But we know that our top rated cigar from last week was 95. I don't think we've gotten to anything in the 90s until last week. So I'm gonna venture to say, without actually seeing the listing, that I think this is the number 2 so far cigar of the year. We still have a couple more weeks of really nice cigars to try. Yeah, it's not coming out. All right, I guess we're gonna end it here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always good to have you be here on Thursday Night Hang. Always good to see all of you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here. So we're gonna come back again next week with the cigar from Ferio Tego, which is their timeless. So hope you come join us again. Hope you have a wonderful week, and yeah, see you next time.